from another planet? Is Janet 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 from another planet?
We live in a complicated world, and I believe we, the people, have the right to know what's happening in our towns, cities, and states. The mainstream media does not have our best interest at heart, and I want to share some information from around our great nation so we can fight back by being informed. Join me each week as we go after hours and get behind the scenes to uncover the truth. The opinions you're about to hear on this show are strictly those of the panel.
Today's digital landscape with the spread of false information can lead to dangerous outcomes. It's crucial for everyone to think critically and verify sources and reflect on the impact of what they share. Let's promote responsible communication to ensure that truth prevails and actions remain rooted in reality.
The following program is rated TV MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to After Hours, and welcome, Chris. Thank you for joining me. You're muted.
I was muted. Hey.
Yeah, you can leave your mic on. I don't think we'll have any problems with echoes or any of that stuff. So I hope you had a good day and stayed cool.
Yeah, I got out in the sun for about 4 hours for a round of golf and just sat through a really good space on the child trafficking stuff. So it was a good day.
Awesome. That sounds really good. Yeah, I like spaces a lot. I was in one earlier and I was co-hosting. So that's why I didn't get to join with you in Brandy's, because I go in there whenever I'm not already, said I'd do anything else. Plus I was setting up for this. So, that's the way it is. Can't be everywhere busy all the time. Even though you want to be in everything, but you can't. It's just impossible to be in everything. But I'm trying to share everybody that's in the chat right now. I don't see anyone over in Kick right now besides me. I'm over there. I got it open on my phone, but just want to say hi. Thank you for stopping in, everyone. And hope if you come back later, we have some information on here that you guys might be interested in sharing with other people, because I always try to share, the links to all the stuff that I share, just so that, if it's useful, maybe we can help people. But one thing I do want to share is this. I'm going to copy and paste it in the chat, because I do do this a lot. So just give me 1 second. I haven't done it in my last couple shows. And, hello, Boosh. How are you? Thank you for stopping in. I really appreciate it. And I wanted to share this because to me it's important. It says, if you or someone you know is experiencing suicidal thoughts or a crisis, please reach out immediately to the Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255 or text HOME to the crisis text line at 741-741. These services are free and confidential. And I like to have that in the chat if I can remember to do it, because it's important that people know that there's always somebody you can get a hold of and talk to, especially, all the veterans that I know that definitely need, just to know that somebody cares about them. And I definitely like to promote my veterans because of them, I'm free. That's how I look at it. Oh, you had a long, exhausting day. Yeah, it's been a long day. I mean, the heat just makes it so unbearable for so many people. And it's just really terrible. And having to go out and fill the water dishes over and over again for my chickens because the water is just like so gross. And someone was like, well, golly, why do you do it? It's still wet. And I said, well, has anybody ever brought you a hot glass of water when you've been sitting out in the hot sun? And you take a sip and you're like, what is this? It's like hot coffee or something. You don't want to drink it in the middle of the day. And so I don't think chickens would either. But yeah, thank you for that. That's a good one. I know a few people that once they quit working for the police department, for 911, they went to work for them too and volunteered to work for them and stuff like that. So it's a lot of good people out there. We just, don't have the time to meet all of them. That's just the way it is. But Chris, you have anything you'd like to say before we get started?
No. I mean, I was just going to say, I don't have bad days. My days are good, and sometimes they're not so good, but they're all good. I live in that place.
Well, I'm trying to get to that place where, I'll stub my toe, little things like that. And it's very annoying. But I'm trying to get to the place where I wake up every morning. I'm just thankful that I woke up, and that I'm happy and I have a roof over my head and a few things like that. And I wish more people could do that to, like my dad always said to all of us girls, make your bed every day, because then you already have one thing that you accomplished for the day. So it gives you a leg up to make you think, okay, I did that. I can do this next thing. And, I think my dad was really smart, and I always thank him for that. But I want to start with this today, because I think we need to be reminded of wonderful things that our past presidents have done for our country to keep us as strong as we've been for 250 years. And it's sad that we don't have live video, of like George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and things like that. It would be really cool to have those things, but we don't. Now we could with AI, I guess, but if we could get it word for word and as similar as possible, it might be pretty interesting. But I think I've played a couple of Ronald Reagan before and a few other famous people, but I haven't played John F. Kennedy before. So I want to play this one because someone sent it to me when they said that Trump had posted it on Truth Social, and I'm on there. I need to put it on my computer because I only have it on my phone, and that way I can see it more often. Because when I'm on my computer, I'll get a little notification. But I wanted to share it with any of you who haven't seen it before, and I will share the link for this in the chat for anyone who wants it to bookmark it or whatever, so you can play for other people. But it's very eye-opening, even all these years later. Because I think it says this was in 1961. That was a long time ago. And now Trump just made sure 300 million Americans see it too. So here we go.
Communism is so often described as an ideology or a belief that exists somewhere other than in the United States. Let me ask you, sir, just how serious a threat to our national security are these communist subversive activities in the United States today?
Well, I think they're serious. I think it's a matter that we should continue to give great care and attention to. We should support the laws which the United States has passed in order to protect us from those who would destroy us from within. We should sustain the Department of Justice in its efforts and the FBI, and we should be continually alert I think if the United States is maintaining a strong society here in the United States, I think that we can meet any internal threat. The major threat is external and will continue.
But we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. It conducts the Cold War, in short, with a wartime discipline no democracy would ever hope or wish to match. Nevertheless, every democracy recognizes the necessary restraints of national security. And the question remains whether those restraints need to be more strictly observed if we are to oppose this kind of attack as well as outright invasion.
And the reason I wanted to start with that tonight was because we are being invaded right here in our own country. We have so many people that want us to be ruled by communism. Socialism is usually the start before you end up in full communism, but they have to cheat their way in simply because most people with common sense don't want to live under that type of rule. So with all of the cheating that we're finding out about, more than a lot of people even realized, and in so many different states, even states that people swear, oh, it's red, it's never going to go blue, you know, all that all the time. It doesn't mean that people aren't going to cheat to get in office. Just because you are a Republican, I call myself conservative, because there's so many things that Republicans do today that I don't agree with, like what we have right now that's going on, not passing the SAVE Act. And that's being held up by people that say they're a Republican, which they aren't, because their actions are telling me they're definitely not conservatives, to drag their feet on this and to drag their feet basically to keep Trump from getting the judges we need. Because when people go to trial, we're going to need good federal judges that we can trust. And as of today, I don't think we have enough. They drag their feet and then they make it take forever. And also, every time you turn around, the Democrats are dragging everything that Trump's trying to do to the Supreme Court. And then when that ruling comes through, they still can't get anything done because it's all having to be done with executive orders, which we know as soon as the new person comes in, it just writes a few things on paper and those are gone because they're not laws. And then they complain and gripe that Trump's people, Hegseth's not doing anything, this person's not doing anything, because the people they need under them aren't there yet, because Congress is dragging their feet, and they drag it along because they don't want anyone to be able to accomplish anything, because it makes them look bad because they weren't involved in it. See what I mean? And they're worried that they won't be voted in again, as we're seeing already in the primaries that are, they're happening in some of the states, that because Trump said, I ain't endorsing you. You haven't been doing your job, and screw you. And thank goodness we do have a lot of people that are going to the polls and voicing their opinion. The sad truth is, one of the elections that one of the people I know was talking about in Spaces today said that he looked at the numbers and only 19% of registered voters that could vote in the Republican primary didn't even bother to come. So you complain and gripe that prices are too high, gas is so expensive, blah, 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 all this different stuff, but yet you don't get off your butt and go there and pull a lever or write it on a ballot. So you complain, but you don't do anything about it because you're just sitting there letting other people make decisions for you. Because if not enough people show up, guess what? The other person wins. Because the Democrats are going to make sure their record numbers are there. They're going to have everybody and their brother there and handing them ballots left and right. So either you get off your butt and you go and you do something, or nothing's going to change. But so do you want to add anything after listening to that speech, Christopher?
Yeah, I think I lean more libertarian. You know, I'm conservative, right? But I'm a libertarian, and I'm all for liberty and people's rights to do things. At the same time, I believe I'm a constitutional federalist, and we should really pay attention to our constitutional laws being disregarded by the states.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of liked what I saw in the elections because the vote turnout really wasn't that great, like you said, but I'm seeing a real line between, there was so much gray area before about who's a Democrat, so people are switching parties, leaving the Democrat Party. The Democrats are finally pointing out what their issue is. And from what the polls are saying, there's going to be a lot more people that show up to vote. And the things that these democratic socialists have been saying, they're pushing their own voters away. Now, on top of that, as a libertarian, I hold both sides of the House and the Senate responsible for the downfall of the immigration system. And as much as we need to get the bad guys out, we also need a path for the people who we need that are supporting the economy. I mean, there were some guys out in my front yard. It was 109 degrees heat index, and they were out there digging a ditch. So I went out and talked to them. They couldn't speak English. They were from Guatemala, so we spoke in Spanish. I came in and got them some ice water and took it out to them, and they were pulling new data lines here for us. So I think that there's so many, it's just so many people that we need who weren't able to get legal because of our immigration system. Most green cards are given for tech jobs, like Elon uses a lot for programming and stuff, and the hospitals use them. And those are the people that really, by the design of the 1790 Immigration Act, which said that we could only have white free people immigrate here. And as I read more into that, I found out that the Irish aren't white, the Germans aren't white. When they wrote that law, this was the case. The Slavs weren't white. I mean, seems like nobody was white but people that came from the frigid north. And basically, if you follow what I follow the Bible and I believe what it says. And when the ark landed and Moses had 4 sons and there was a vile sin committed, and God said, I'm casting you out to the 4 corners of the earth, and you're not going to be able to speak the same languages. And he basically put tongues in them so they couldn't talk. And so the people who went to Africa, right, and populated Africa, I mean, they were in the sun all the time, and their skin got darker because if they had white skin, fair skin like people in the Nordic, they would have gotten cancer, you know. And then there's what you eat and your diet, and all those things have a lot to do with what your outer look looks. The actual DNA involved in that is 0.1% of all the DNA in your body. It's 1/10 of 1% of our DNA in our body that goes to melatonin, eye color, hair color, and those kind of things. And basically, by where we lived in the world is what made us the color we are. And so now that we're all drawn back together, because clearly, if you were saying Germans weren't white and Slavs weren't white and Irish weren't white, that's just confusing, you know? That's just totally confusing to me. And as a multiracial person through my ancestry, I have an extremely difficult time understanding why people don't just see that we're just people, you know? So I don't.
Well, if you take all our skin off, besides our skeleton, which proves you're a man or a woman by the shape of your skeleton and how many ribs you have, you can't tell who's white or who's black. I mean, it's
That's
just
exactly right.
It's just bone and muscle and blood vessels and stuff. But you can tell if a person has had, any kind of surgery, transitioning or whatever, and they're buried and, 1,000 years, someone digs them up, they would say, oh, look, this guy has these plastic things laying here. What are these? Because it's a man's skeleton. You can't change that. Okay, that's fact. And that's not going to change. And that's the way God made us, Well,
I'm also seeing a lot of reports of arrests for voter fraud, literally in these midterm primaries we're having right now. Right? One lady told everybody at her polling station to delete and burn everything. That's like federal law. She's already been arrested. They found 30,000 illegal votes in one place and 50,000 in another. They're ripping California to shreds over what they found in that one. And California really wanted the guy with the funny commercials and all that. They really wanted him in office, And so he didn't make it because of that fraud.
Yeah, but the great thing is that people are catching them before the numbers are saying, oh, well, it's too late now. He's already in. Now we have to go to court and this, that, and the other before they accept the numbers. See, that's why I get so upset when I talk about what happened with all the fraud when Biden won, was because Pence was standing right there with all those people from the different states standing in line, sharing information that they had, paperwork, and other things to say, hey, we've had inconsistencies. We think we had some cheating. We think we had this, that, and the other. We don't want you to accept our electoral college votes because we think we need to take it back to the state and make sure it's legal. Okay. But Pence said, no, we're taking them. Okay. He took them anyways. So let me tell
you exactly when I had doubts for Mike Pence. The day I saw Trump announce him, I was like, what are you doing? We're bringing you in because you're not part of this system. And here you are getting one of the worst ones who will, they chit chat their little dinners out drinking and all the other stuff they're doing. And they think that they're ruling us. They're not listening to what the people want anymore. And what more of a case than talking about the SAVE Act proves that. So, I mean, when 80% of the people want something and the government thinks this is better for you, what we're saying, it's like, hey, pal, I didn't hire you to tell me what to do with my life. I hired you because you said you would serve me. And now you're not serving me, you're serving yourself.
Yeah.
And the sooner we clean all them out, we got to clean them out. But I knew Mike Pence was a problem the day he got him. I'm like, Trump, what are you doing? He's going to screw you. And he screwed him from day one.
But he screwed all of us.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But from day one, he did.
If he could have took care of it that day, but that's why they had to have the whole fiasco with January 6th to help Pence be able to say, oh, we're afraid. We got to hide under the tables and whatever else. And that's why we had to just get it over with as quickly as we could. We didn't have time to listen to all that, that kind of stuff. They're trying to give them a scapegoat, a way out. And they were still counting votes, in lots of states and all that stuff. So it was just horrible. And it's supposed to be voting day. And you can't tell me there's not enough people in every state to count how many votes you have in your state. And also, it's a proven fact that you can't have more votes than you have people that are registered to vote. What I mean?
Think about this, Nepal, right? Maybe about 14 months ago, Nepal literally overthrew their government and did their own elections. They used little squares of paper and pencils, and they had them counted at the end of the day and had a new government in. Right. When I saw that, I thought, why can't we do that in America?
We can. We used to do it.
Yeah, we used to.
And I was talking about that in Spaces today. I said, when you go in to vote and you see nothing but it looks like a nursing home, that's what every young person says. It's just nothing but a nursing home. It's nobody there but old people, you know? And I'm like, well, get off your butt and go work the polls, young people, if you want to see young people there. And when those people slowly stop getting to be able to come because they're passing away, the people in the states and in the cities say, well, we need machines to do the counting and to do all this, that, and the other, because we don't have enough people that work. So that's how they were able to get the machines and stuff in. We have to make it to where you can't get in trouble, which is supposed to be a law now. You can't lose your job if you go vote, or if you go work the polls. They can't fire you from your job, all these different things. And it's not very much money, I know, but it's your duty to make sure it's done so that we can get it done in one day. And we have people we trust. You know, it's like a jury of our peers. We're all there to make sure that everyone that we know in our town gets one vote and one vote only, and that the votes are counted and it's all secure. You know what I mean? And it's that easy. I've worked in 2 different states, worked the polls multiple times for different elections, presidential, you know, and just regular elections, different things that were on the ballot for things that were important for your state. And it's not that hard. It really isn't. You just have to follow the rules. And if you follow the rules, everything goes smoothly. And guess what? We didn't have any more votes than we were supposed to have at the end of the night. So it worked pretty good. But this next thing I want to share is a start in that direction about what we are talking about right now. So I wanted to share this and make sure it's turned off, or the volume's off. Whoops, darn it. Turn it up. Okay. It says major fraud Fauci advisor David Morans pleads guilty for conspiracy to defraud the U.S., the DOJ announces. And I'm going to play this for you. It's not very long, but all of this stuff goes together with the fraud and the cheating and things like that. But here we go. I opened the wrong one. Darn it. This is the one I wanted to open. I'll do the next one next. I'm sorry. But we'll go ahead and do this one. And then we'll get to the one about the voting, because that's the one I wanted first. But here we go.
And we're handling that case like as every American should expect. We're looking at it, and we're going to do everything we can. If it needs an investigation and it should be investigated, we will absolutely do that. We can't obviously comment. I know you're not asking me to on ongoing investigations, but yes, we did get the referral from the Senate.
Well, I've got
from the.
So the thing is, this is from the Department of Justice, and it's the paperwork that they submitted about this gentleman being
David
brought up
Morans.
on charge. Yeah.
David
So
Morans, yeah.
yeah. So we will be seeing something coming from that. But the good thing is, we're starting to see things. We're starting to see action, and I'm hoping that we have enough judges in place to be able to handle the caseload of all the different people that we're going to start seeing. And some of these people are going to be asking for plea deals to get less time if they give up other information. And that's how it works. And I'm praying that all of this is going to be open trials where we can watch it, because I think the people deserve to watch all the stuff that's going to happen with the election fraud and all the stuff that's going to happen with the COVID fraud, for the American people to be able to watch it every day. You know, even if they just set it up to record and watch it when they get off from work or whatever, and fast forward to whatever it is they want to see, they should have the right to see it, because it does. All of this affected us. It's affected all of our lives in the United States of America. So I'm hoping that they're going to give us that opportunity. Do you think they're going to?
Well, I'm going to watch this unfold really without any opinion, because what I looked it up and read the indictment and read what he was initially charged with. And he had 5 total charges and they dropped 4 and gave him 1. So he was looking at 40 years in jail. And with this plea deal, he's looking at a maximum of 10, and he's already met with FBI. So I would imagine that, you know, they're going, okay, we'll give you the plea deal after you give us enough information that we can trust that you're going to cooperate. And I would imagine that they won't start him doing time until after he blows the whistle on everything. Because here's what is going to happen. Once this comes open and the absolute truth comes out, it's going to be devastating. And I kid you not, I have wept and wept for years knowing all of this, being you know, told to shut up, the swatting events and the smear campaigns and all of that. These guys are ruthless. They will do anything to make you keep your mouth shut. And now that they're doing plea deals and coming forward with information on each other, it's who's going to be the one that really takes the hit for doing all this. And so I'm going to watch it eagerly. My faith in the system, you know, my faith is in God, not the system. So whatever it is that happens, it'll be blessed by him. And I think we all deserve the truth. The only way we're going to start gathering data and all of that kind of stuff to really get to the bottom of what's wrong with mRNA and that kind of technology, which Robert Malone, who invented it, goes around telling people, whatever you do, don't take it. Whatever you do, don't take it. And now the FDA approved the mRNA flu vaccine. And today Elon was talking about, oh, we got cancer this and cancer that. Man, I directly shot him a message. Go fuck yourself. I hope you hang right next to Fauci and Gates. Right? I don't want to hear that shit. I don't tell him how to make rockets. And I don't want to hear him talking to me about medicine. Stay in your swim lane, shut your mouth, know your role, and go over there and sit down so we can finish what we're doing. We haven't gotten to the point yet where the places where you report vax injuries will accept your report. We haven't gotten to the point where major research is being done in all these different things that are being reported, right? So so they want to give us more of that. And they don't even know what went wrong the first time. And I'm mad. I mean, I'm about that issue. I am mad. I'm going to raise hell to everybody I can. All the senators on the Intelligence Advisory Board, all the doctors I talk to, we cannot lay down in that any more than we can lay down in an integrity in the voting system. And we're fighting off on so many fronts. You know, after 3 hours in the child abuse and the trafficking and all of that today, that's a whole nother issue. It's destroying our country.
Yeah, but the thing is, when the movie Sound of Freedom came out, okay, and they said in the movie that the United States of America was the #1 trafficking country in the world.
We're not.
No, that's what they said in the Sound of Freedom. And from everything that I've seen, I think we are very high up on that chain because of the cartels. But during the administration we had before, I could believe it.
Well, I think you can account us for one fifth of all the trafficking.
One kid is too many.
Yeah, and so Thailand, Cambodia, and you know some other. Switzerland is one of the worst places in the world for this sex trafficking and bloodletting and all these other things they do to these children, the Epstein stuff.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Oh, it's bad. Switzerland's really bad. France, really bad.
But under this administration, one of the things I wanted to say that I have definitely noticed, and I know that it's going to be hard for a lot of people to accept another administration that's not this transparent. Every day, when Trump is in his Oval Office signing executive orders, he usually has the people that wrote up the information of the executive order he's going to fill so they can answer questions. And then he has the press in there and he lets the press ask questions, and he stands there or sits there and shows what he signed. So every single thing, when we had someone down in the basement last time just writing with whatever auto pen, all these executive orders. And so they can't come back later on and say, well, no one saw you sign that. Is that done by the auto pen? You know, all this kind of stuff. That won't be happening with Trump because he's got video evidence of every single executive order that he's done. And he's even interviewed that young man that saved that little boy's life as a lifeguard, that 16-year-old lifeguard. He's constantly inviting regular, everyday people to the White House to come into the Oval Office. And while he's talking about child trafficking, whatever it is, because he's going, gangbusters, he's constantly doing stuff. So, but this next thing I want to share is the thing I was going to share last time about the election stuff. So I want with Dominion. So I want to start with this real quick. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to take this down. And here you go. I wanted to share this. It's Bush McFadden, his thing about, not to mention, the Biden sending the FBI to arrest independent citizens that were investigating kidnappings and stuff like that. Yeah. Many times I had Brandy on my show and had all those videos taken down because this one of these channels that I'm live on right now does not like it when I talk about the pedos and things like that. So it's sad. I hope it gets better because we need to fight for our kids. And I'm glad to see this administration at least is trying to do something. At least they got people out there in record numbers saving children and trying to get them back to where they belong. So I like that. But this is it's talking about the Dominion rigging systems, flipping and switching votes in the middle of the night. Okay, this is during the November 3rd, 2020 election. This is in Michigan. So I'm going to play this for everybody, and then I will share this in the chat.
Key elements that showed differences in the data runs and the tapes, and I believe I've provided that to you as well. And then a declaration by Robert Marsh, the Star Township supervisor, a couple of the excerpts, when he said, upon examining the tape at the close of the polls, I could see that President Trump had clearly won the presidential race in Star Township. He said, I believe the numbers were 462 for President Trump, with Joe Biden receiving 161 votes. Normally, when a candidate has such a large lead, it's safe to assume who the winner would be. Early the next morning, my wife received a phone call from a friend asking what happened to Antrim County going blue, meaning Democrat. At 7:36 that morning, I was texting our stats representative, Tristan Cole, to find out if those were the actual results. At the time, Tristan advised me that the numbers were not right, that Antrim County was reporting 462 votes had been credited to Joe Biden, and President Trump had only received 10 votes. So we saw numerous examples of numbers moving, numbers being flipped and switched. As you realize, the Antrim County is where the 6,000 vote glitch occurred. And if you look at the numerous references in the guidelines for elections in the Help America Vote Act, the Federal Election Commission voting system standards, and the Federal Information Security Modernization Act, an error rate is permissible for 1 out of 125,000 ballots. And if you look at just what happened in Antrim County, the error rate was 8.3. So it puts it about 750 times the allowable limit. And according to the regulations, that should have disqualified. They went later and changed that from a glitch to a clerical error, which, they kind of changed up the reporting on that a little bit.
Well, people have to realize too, especially people who do vote in elections, but they don't understand how it runs. Because I've heard a lot of people, saying in spaces and other platforms I've been on that Trump needs to do something about it, and he needs to arrest people. But the thing is, it's got to be done by the states, because these are state-held elections. These are state workers, state people that are running the machines, all this different stuff. Now, if later on, by doing the state stuff and they find out more evidence with a certain person or group of people that were paying all these people to do it, then you have evidence to go higher up, maybe with the federal. But right now, people have to understand it is being done. It's just being done one state at a time, because the cheating took place in Michigan. It's got to be done in Michigan. If it's done in Arkansas, it's got to be done in Arkansas. And then they collect the information and then go up, if there is an up above that, or up in the state to a higher official or whatever that might have knew what was going on and covered it up, like we definitely know in Georgia with all that going on. But when you have a media that doesn't want to share it, the information, that's what makes it really hard, because the people aren't finding out about it. This whole thing was being put on the news by Right Side, which is owned by the Lindell gentleman, the one who owns the My Pillow company. So it's just far and few between where you can get it and watch it live, because just like what we saw earlier this year, when Trump gives a speech as the president of the United States, ABC didn't even want to air it, so, he's going to lie. We got to make sure we keep him from lying and whatever. And he's the president of the United States. I just think that is just ridiculous. I can't believe a single person even watches ABC anymore. They are so full of shit. So it's pathetic. I mean, I've sat and watched presidents that I couldn't stand give speeches, because every channel should have the president of the United States on it, period, whether you like him or not, or her, or whoever it is. That's ridiculous that you would have an actual news channel say, we're going to have the president on there because he's a liar. It's just, that is why I will undername the show after communism. That's what communists do. They keep the truth in the people. They don't let a religious leader or whoever they don't like or approve of give information to the people. They control the information from the people. So that right there is a communist act. I felt that one channel wouldn't even air a speech. I thought it was pathetic. Did you remember that when they said no, they weren't going to do it, and there was a couple channels that said, we're going to make sure he's not lying?
Yeah,
it's pretty sad. But what do you think about what he was explaining about the Dominion machines?
Yeah, I mean, I've been looking into the Dominion thing for years, and it was really great. Todd Blanche came out and announced the date that they moved the Dominion system to Venezuela, and then the actual software they use to change the votes is run by a man who was the former he was the former CEO of Open Border Society for George Soros. So they're really they're going to go after that. Oh, you can bet they're going to go after that. That I think we talked about that Friday night on the shit show.
Yeah.
So I heard one person in the cabinet say that they're talking about treason charges. Now, you're talking about really serious stuff. I did notice that person went on to say that the people that have been charged with treason in post-Vietnam, it's been just nominal sentences. If you haven't given a nuclear weapon to Vladimir Putin, they're just going to slap you on the hand and tell you to go away. But the key is we need to get the voting system back on American soil.
Yeah.
That's just the end of the story. We got to get it back. And there should not be a secondary system that can access Dominion voting machines that we can't access in the three-letter agencies. Right?
Yeah, but the thing is,
it's a problem.
I can't believe that anyone in the United States of America think it's okay that any other country has any data whatsoever about our elections. Because I can honestly say this, how many other countries' elections are we involved in?
Everybody, we are. We're one of the worst ones.
Are we the ones tapped into the computer and watching who's winning and who's losing? That we can switch buttons and do whatever we want?
No, I mean, we're not doing that kind of manipulation,
That's what I mean.
but we do.
Yeah,
You know, we use TV
ballot.
and all radio and all that.
Yeah. But the thing is, we should have only paper ballots, period. There's no reason. And people can say it's a waste of paper. Well, recycle it when we're finished. But once everything's authenticated and they put it in the other thing, after 20 years or whatever, you can take it out and recycle it, the old ones or whatever, or however they want to, whatever cycle they want to do. I just think it's ridiculous that anyone would think it's okay to have the USBs. Wait till you see the USBs, you know, all this kind of stuff. It's baloney. None of it should have anything like that. You don't even need a machine in any of these places. If you have the people, you each do your little district or whatever, and you take care of it. And then you have your totals, and then a judge comes by and he picks up your totals, each person's totals. Then they go up to the front desk, and then they all count them out and say, this is so-and-so, and then this is so-and-so, whatever, you know, this is how many numbers we have. And at the end of the night, you have the total from all the people that voted in your town or in your city, or, you know. And that's how it works. And that's how it's always worked. And we were able to do it, 100 years ago. I can't believe we're having so many trouble now. I mean, we had big cities back then. I mean, maybe not as big as they are now, but I'll tell you right now, the state of Arkansas doesn't even have as many people in it as New York City. So, you know, you can't tell me that you can't get enough people to count your ballots, because you can. There's enough people. It's just that we've got to stop being so lazy and get off our butts and start fighting for what we believe and what we want. But here's the next thing I want to share. It's another thing about election fraud. So hold on, I have 19 things. So hold on before I start. I just want to make sure. This is One American News Network. This is a different one, but you're starting to see a trend. If you're paying attention to the election fraud stuff, it's only on certain networks. Networks that later, and I'm going to play some things about people that knew that Biden was not all there and lied and covered for him, news anchors that lied for him, knowingly lying to the American people, even people that watch their channel, right, and voted for that person, they're still lying to them. And to me, they should lose their jobs. Any reporter that knowingly lied to the American people and said it multiple times should lose their jobs, you know, because you can't trust the news. You can't trust them either. To me, what they said is almost as bad as a person who took an oath to go and do certain things for the government, and they didn't do it. They stabbed the people that put them in office in the back and did what they wanted for a few dollars or whatever the reason was behind it. To me, it's the same thing. When you have the media lying to cover up lies for the politicians, that's, to me, is just as detrimental to the people and to your society. But this is it says a Dominion contractor with 2 degrees swore under oath in her affidavit after working 27 hours at a Detroit TCF center that she witnessed massive amounts of clear election fraud involving late night ballot dumps. So I'm going to play this for you. Let me make sure it's turned up. And this is on One American News Network. And Juliana leads this 2 days of this voter fraud hearings. Here we go.
I have 19 things in my affidavit. I was at the TCF Center for 27 hours. I'm a mother. I have 2 children and I have 2 degrees. I'm very, I would never, I don't know any woman in the world that would write an affidavit under oath just to write it. You know, you can go to prison for this. So anyways, I want to make this very clear. I was initially supposed to work at the Detroit Department of Elections building. That was an order by my manager, Nick Economagounis, part owner of Dominion. I have it all in emails. I was trained on the adjudication and tabulation process. So in the email, it says you are to park in a parking lot and get shuttled over to this, they referred to it as the Chicago warehouse. I know for a fact there was illegal activity going on there. People have pictures of people carrying ballots out of that place. There is pictures of vans full of ballots coming out of that place.
Then around 4:30 a.m., we had an announcement that a new shipment of ballots were arriving, and these boxes of ballots were brought in by Mr. Baxter himself at 4:30 a.m. from the rear of the room. So I personally witnessed Mr. Baxter carrying boxes from the rear of the basement of the TCF Center into the tables. So each box, I approximate 600 ballots. And it was like what you have to know is that these tables, there's about 7 tables. They were 10-foot tables each. Every table was full of boxes of ballots. It's not tens of thousands or 20,000s. I approximate 50,000 ballots were brought in. Now, were all of those ballots brought in from the rear entrance to the TCF Center? I don't know. They were brought in from the TCF Center, but there was a lot more than just the ones that were brought in from the rear entrance to the TCF Center. And I'm talking, this is the 6 a.m. This is when we're starting at 6 a.m., the 4:30, 5 a.m. It was 50,000 ballots on the table, equal to the 2 rounds that we did before. We did a round around 10 p.m. to about 1 a.m. and then 1 a.m. to about 4 a.m. And then the boxes were brought in from the rear around 4:30. Then they had the shift change from around 5 to 6. So with the shift change, most of the volunteers were tired at this point. They only expected to be there from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. So 90+% of them left at 5 a.m. I decided to stick around. So they had the shift change. At 6 a.m., Mr. Baxter and his management team got back on the microphone and said, this is what the new shift change, right? The new employees says, this is what democracy is supposed to look like. Right in front of everyone, the whole room cheered.
Wow. Amazing, isn't it? And the thing is, I'm so proud of these people because I'm telling you right now, I have gotten death threats and hate. Tons of stuff. And I'm just a teeny tiny person that has a very small channel that talks on YouTube and on Rumble and on X and a few other places, but I have very few people, but because of what I talk about, people hate me and they want to shut me up. So they threaten that they're going to kill me and they're going to slit my throat in my sleep and, tons of things like that. I can't even imagine what that young man, that woman, and other people like that, they go out and do that, the death threats that they're getting. Our own Stephen Miller and his family had to go stay on a military base because their children would be threatened on their way to school. These people are ruthless. They don't care who they hurt to keep you from having a fair election, for telling the truth about thieves stealing from us, stealing money, stealing our liberty and our freedoms right out from under us. And if you speak out, guess what? They're going to beat you down. But does that sound like freedom of America, or does that sound like communism to you? That's why I named the show Communism is at the Door, because it is. And as long as we sit on our ass with our thumb up our ass, basically, while we watch TV and do whatever because we're too afraid to raise our voice, or we're afraid that someone might point their finger at me and call me a Nazi. I've been called a Nazi, a racist, a bitch, a cunt. Everything you can think of. Okay, I've been called all those things, but guess what? They're just words. But it is scary because I don't want them showing up at my house. I'm not the only person that lives here. And I'm putting them at risk simply because I want to tell the truth. And I want other people to be informed. And I want people to sign up and work the polls in their states and fight for their states, fight for their kids' schools, stuff like that. And people hate me because of it. And it's sad, but that's where we are. And it's up to us, people. It's in our house. Okay. It's up to you and I to fight to make it this kind of stuff where these people are held accountable. Because just like he said, he named names of who was in charge and what they were saying over the mic. These people that took ballots that they knew were not real, or that they had written on themselves and not an individual American citizen, they knew what they were doing. There's no way I could take a stack of ballots and write on all of them and put them in a machine and pretend that I didn't know I was cheating. It's impossible. I only get one ballot, and it was my ballot. One I had to show my driver's license for and prove who I was to be able to vote. When I worked the polls, I didn't write on any of those people's ballots. All I did was look up a name, write their name down in a book as a register, and then pass them a ballot after they proved who they were. That's it. And then they took it themselves, filled it out, and put it in the box. No one else touched it after that. That's the way it's supposed to go. So these people knew exactly what they're doing. And that's why this is important, because all the people involved in cheating in every single state, I don't care how tiny a county they were, even if they only cheated for 2 or 3 people, it's still cheating. They should be punished for it. They should be held accountable. Because you and I should know that when we go vote and we leave and go back to our jobs or our homes, that ballot that is going to be counted along with all the other people that took time out to go vote. We should have the thought that it's fair. And with all this, it wasn't. And a lot of people are upset and said, I'm never going to vote again because they just cheat. Well, if we fix it, if we prosecute these people and we make sure that it's not going to happen again, especially in your town, because you're there, you can say stuff. You can go to city council meetings. You can do something in your town and in your state. And that's how we're going to fight this, in our own towns, on our own territory, on our own ground, basically. Do you want to add anything, Chris? I'm sorry I went on a rant.
That's all right. Okay, so in this hour, you've shown basically the symptom. But what you've also done, and it's been incredible, I don't know if you did it on purpose, but the first thing that you had where Kennedy was describing how they do this, destroying us from the inside.
This is it.
So they're not at our door, they're all around us. And then you displayed the Dominion issue. Okay, well, the Dominion issue is manipulated by Soros, who's also the same person who puts the judges who are supposed to count the votes in the position they're in. But basically what you're seeing is that in real time, we're naming names, we're saying how they do it, and we're revealing the truth to everybody. And it has been going on since the 50s. The Russians had their eyes on us. China's had their eyes on us. They were heavily involved in the voter fraud from this year, which I've just heard them. I think Senator Kennedy was interviewing somebody, and I caught a little bit out about the Chinese influence. And they're creating votes, and people like my dead mother voting, and that was insane how all that went on. So it's this, you've laid this out perfect for stop looking at what makes you mad, but look at what they're actually doing, because once you identify the problem, then you can come up with a solution. I mean, we all see the big zit on the face of the voting system, right? But if we're talking about the zit and how ugly it is and everything else, we can't get to, all right, you need some doxycycline, we're going to drain that for you, and then you need to keep ice on it, and then you need to keep borax so it doesn't scar, and blah blah blah. and then you're on the solution once you get past the ugliness of what's going on. So I think a lot, it's really going to take us some detachment, personally, to deal with all of this because it's so bad. But we knew they were doing it in 2020, but they had all the control.
Yeah, but not everyone knew, because I have
when I say everybody knew, I mean all the State Department people I work with. We were having meetings about it. What are we going to do? Because you had Mayorkas in there, you had Merrick Garland in there. These people all went to communist schools. Do you know when Harvard started teaching communism and switched to a communist school? Blow your mind. 1960. They announced communist agenda in 1960. I wasn't even born yet, and I'm old as hell, right? So this has been going on my entire life. The Russians, the mob, the Cuban mob and the Russian influence and all that. That was the global deep state that now you see who and Bill Gates and Peter Thiel and all these other people, right? There's real names for these people. But until we get to the machine, and then we go, all right, who has their hands on the machine? They're the guilty ones. You can't even blame the people doing it with the votes, right? I mean, think about how many people change their morals, right? And they get around a crowd of people and they're going, hey, man, it's okay. A lot of those people fall, right? A lot of those people fall. Why? Because you will do what other people around you are doing. And so that's how the Russians did it to us.
I know, but if I was sitting at a table and some guy came over and handed us some ballots or whatever, and they already had marks on them, and he told us to count these or whatever, or while we're taking, people are still coming in or whatever, I would like, whose ballots are there? Who? There's nothing on there to say if your ballot doesn't have your name on it, right? So we have no evidence when they hand us the ballot that it's legal. See?
Yeah, but see, those people bringing those ballots know. Okay, in Houston,
I would know because I've worked the polls and I listened and I took the class and everything about what my responsibility would be, depending on what seat I'm sitting in, whether I'm the one that takes the driver's license and looks it up in the book, or if I'm just a witness to write down the information to have a copy of it that we put in the courthouse. And then there's a guy at the very end who holds the box where they come and they put their ballot in it. See, there's all these different steps. And if they come and bring us a box of ballots with no signatures or anything, I would say, I'm not letting you put them in the box because we don't know whose ballots these are. Because when we receive a box of ballots that's from like someone who mailed it in because they're overseas, right? Absentee ballot, it's an envelope. And it says who it is and where it came from. It has one ballot in it. And we look it up. And if they're not in our precinct, we say, hey, this person isn't in this book. So we can't put it in there. There's no registration. There's no other extra information for us. So we would call a judge over, because everywhere I've worked, we've had a real judge that works for that county in our building, walking around answering questions to help people, the voters and workers, to make sure we do things right, especially if someone had a spoiled ballot. Like we had one woman, I've only been at one thing where I've had a woman that ruined her ballot. She went and she put an X on the thing where she wanted it, but she realized it was on the wrong person. It was for a sheriff. It was a sheriff one. So it wasn't even one of the bigger ones. It was a smaller one. And she's like, I made a mistake. So we had to call a judge over, and then he took the ballot and he initialed it. And then he had each of us at the table, because we're the one that gave her the ballot, and we initialed it. Then he put it in the envelope, he sealed it, and he wrote spoiled on it. Then he set it over there with the gentleman that has the box of ballots next to him. The people put in the slot, right? And then he took it the judge, and he put it in this other side there's a little box on the side, and that's where the spoiled ballots would go into the metal box. It's locked, right? So then she has to go back to the first person at my table and show her driver's license again. And we went through the whole thing. And when she got to the bottom part of the table, after we verified and she's in the book, that person handed her a ballot. And then she goes back over there, and the judge went with her to make sure she could, if she didn't need any help or whatever. After she was done, she came back to our table and she slid it into the slot of the box of the ballots that we would count at the end of the day. So we would only have as many ballots as we handed out in the box to be counted. You see, not a boxes of ones that we can't prove who they are or where they came from. That's how you stop cheating, if everyone knows what they're doing. But
think about this for a minute, Janet. How many riots have you seen where there was 10,000 people?
How many
all
riots?
wearing masks? Yeah, riots.
Oh, I've seen.
They're wearing masks and carrying Palestinian flags and all that, or they're singing in really horrible tones to a microphone, some song they made up about Trump. Mm-hmm. Those are the people who are bringing those votes and sitting in those voting things, and they're being paid through NGOs from the Soros, who's running this whole operation, and they're being paid, and they're going to do whatever they're told. It's like $8,000 to sit in an office for a couple hours and turn my head if somebody brings some votes in. Just shut up and count them, right? Yeah, they're going to do it for the same reason that they think about all the people that do that, right? To go $8,000. You show up, you can stay in a hotel, and we're going to give you this money, and all you got to do is be violent. One of these days, they're going to show up with water cannons, and real live bullets. And, was it really worth $8,000 to walk out there and incite violence against an armed nation? Was it really that smart? I don't think that we're in a place where that's even about to happen. But we might reach that if it doesn't turn around. So I agree with you. But even still, you've got to get to who's paying them. Yeah, who's paying them the money? It's not the votes and all that. It's who's paying them to do it.
Yeah, that gentleman that mentioned the name of the person who got on the microphone, and he was the one that brought in all these 50,000 ballots like 3 different times that he saw. Okay, that name of that person, he was a higher person that ran what was going on with all its little underlings. Okay, now that person had someone above them, I'm sure. So they get all this evidence with that guy, and then they bring him in and say, this is what's going to happen. Either you play or you pay. And then it goes to the next cycle, the next, ranking up. That's how it works. But
yeah, I think they're building a case, no doubt.
Yeah, they definitely are. But what I wanted to mention was this. Predators prey on their prey because they've had a lot of time to become a predator. They understand what to look for. When a child predator looks around a playground, they're looking for the loner kid. They're looking for the kid that has his name on his backpack. They're looking for different signals from this child to let them know that they can approach this kid, and this kid's going to do what I tell them to. Okay? They know this because they're predators. The same thing with me. When a job I used to have as a florist, there was a guy that worked, it was in a grocery store, and he was a predator. And later, when he got arrested, because he had preyed on so many women that worked at this store, I was like, he never approached me. Well, now you guys know why. Look at I'm very verbal. If he'd come up to me, and a lot of the women were saying that he would expose his genitals or whatever while they were in the back room or different things, and he'd rub against them and stuff like that. I was like, why didn't any of you grab his shit and start screaming at the top of your lungs and dig your claws in, and done something about it? Because that's why he didn't approach me. He knew that I wasn't prey. And he knew if he ever did that to me, that I wasn't going to say, what the fuck? And just cry or crawl in the corner like all the other girls were doing. And because I wasn't that person. So I wasn't approached because I am not prey. Stop being prey, people. Start being the predator and fight back. So that's what I wanted to add. But I'm going to open this next thing. because I can't help it. I got a big mouth and I don't take no shit. But I want to share this one because this goes along with what we were talking about. It's a Census Bureau, because I think you heard a few people talking about this on the news, that they confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt that over 10,000 illegal aliens using the exact same social security numbers voted in the 2020 presidential election in Arizona, effectively overthrowing the U.S. government. So they're gonna. This is on the news. This is on the Right Side News Network again. But the thing is that the evidence is coming out. We're finding out more and more people saying illegals never voted. But last week, remember on our show, I showed that undercover operation of the gentleman dressed in with people with him that were dressed in burqas, and he was allowed to get ballots and vouch for people with no ID or anything, and that was in Minnesota, right? And that's all coming out. People are being, being fired, and all kinds of stuff's happening. It's finally unfolding for that, and that was just recently in a recent election that they had in their state. People were still cheating. So when a person thinks that they got away with it before, well, sure, they're going to get away with it the second time. That's why you have constant shoplifters at stores and different things, and it's the same people because they always believe they are smarter than everyone around them. And we have to prove to them that we are smarter and we know that what they're doing, and we're not going to let them do it anymore. So we have to start fighting back, prove that we are who we are, Americans.
We discovered 10,000 people using the exact Social Security number. See if this one rings true. You take an illegal, you bring them in. They sign a piece of paper promising to pay taxes. What they get is a Social Security number, so the employers can take out the taxes. Put a pin in that. Here's what they do. In cities like this, let's think of a chicken processor. They will bring in hundreds of illegals. They will spread them out across all of these plants and factories, giving them jobs. They're all using the same Social Security number. The IRS unconnected our names from the Social Security number. Now, when you look it up, it just pings to see if there's an employer. If there is, it says it's good, it validates it. Why do they do that? Because all of these factories are giving them Social Security numbers. The government turns its back on it. As soon as you have a Social Security number and you go over to motor voter, pass the driver's test, right? You get a driver's license. The person, look, you got a social, you must be a citizen. That's how they pack the rolls. By the way, those guys don't pay taxes anyway. It's taken out by companies. Our government's been sitting on $1.7 trillion slush fund that one fund has still in it to this day. So if you want to know where the dark money comes from, by the way, that's what, $100 million in a month in interest. I could go on. I now understand this is why they tried to kill us. And it's not stuff I wanted to know. It's not stuff I wanted to know about my country. It's not stuff I believed. But we have a uniparty. We don't have multiple parties. Everybody's benefited from this at one time or another.
100% right. So had you heard that before, Chris?
Yeah, I have.
It's pretty sad, isn't it? How much there is. There's just so much of it. There's so much of it. But we have a media that doesn't want to share any of it. That's why
we found 50,000 of them in the Chinese embassy in Houston. And I met in Alexandria, I met with a State Department official who worked with my father, and we discussed all of that. And our FBI, the FBI gets there, and what I get is there's a report that the elevator doesn't work. Well, I got with Dr. Roberts, and she said it wasn't a high rise. I'm like, what? She showed me a picture, and I was like, oh my God. So the FBI only had to go in one floor. They can go in any building they want. They were there for a while and then called, and half that place was burned down. And they reconstructed these burnt documents. Until you touch them, they stay in one piece, and you can put like super glue on them and heat it up, and it'll like all the letters pop out like crazy. And it's like, oh my God. And that's what they did there. That was in July of 2020.
Yeah, it's amazing. But here is another small example of some of the things that's being brought out into the public for people to know how much fraud is going on, and that it's in every single level and branch of the government. It's not just in one area, a person wanting to be governor, all the way up. I mean, it's everywhere. It's people running for sheriff, people running for city council, people running for the administrator of the school board, all this stuff. All these people are getting some kind of incentives for running and cheating to get there because they're helping other people. They're flowing money through to go to something else, all that stuff. So it's all interconnected. That's why it takes so long, and it's hard to put everything together, but you got to be meticulous about it. There was I should bring that up. Remember the thing that you weren't in there. One of the people I was in a space with shared a picture, and it had Trump. And he had two guys standing next to him. He said, sorry that you're on the wait. You know, I'll share it after this thing that I'm sharing. I'll bring it up because I think I posted it on my YouTube channel so people could see it. But I want to share this because this is another aspect of what we're having to deal with. So let me pause that because I got to turn it up and everything. A California Democrat mayor just quit after admitting she was a Chinese communist agent. So, man, I'm telling you, it's just stuff is just busting out of the seams. But here we go.
Fox News alert. A California Democrat just admitted to being a Chinese spy. Christina Coleman has the latest. Christina.
Hi, Jesse. California Democrat Eileen Wang resigned as mayor of Arcadia as part of her plea deal. She's now charged with acting as an illegal agent of the People's Republic of China. Prosecutors say between 2020 and 2022, 4 years before she was sworn in as mayor, she worked at the direction and control of Chinese government officials.
They feel like that there is an open door invitation in these sanctuary cities. It's not just China. This is North Korea. This is Russia. This is our adversaries all over the place that's using the political theater that the Democrats have drawn as a point of weakness to be able to infiltrate our communities.
Federal authorities say Wang operated a phony website claiming it was a news source for the local Chinese American community. Instead, she's accused of using it to promote and push pro-Chinese content.
It's not a crime to just publish pro-Chinese pieces. What makes it a crime is that she was working at the direction of the PRC. So this wasn't her on her own writing these things. She was directed and instructed. She had a handler by the PRC that would tell her what to do.
A local news reporter caught up with this California Democrat to see if she had anything to say about secretly working with China's communist government, but she stayed silent.
Can we speak with you about these allegations?
Yep, had nothing to say there. Also, federal authorities say Wang's former fiance was her accomplice. He's currently serving a 4-year federal prison sentence after pleading guilty last October to acting as an illegal agent of a foreign government. So both of them in big trouble, Jesse.
Match made.
You see that, though? There's a guy right now already serving 4 years for working for the Chinese government, right? Infiltrating. But I haven't heard anybody talk about it before. Have you? And that's what's scary about it.
I had not heard about him, but I know that we caught a guy that was using an American name who was from China, and he had a bio lab in San Diego, and we shut him down, arrested him. The California judge released him, and then he went to Vegas, and we shut him down there again. Now, I know that Chinese national has been charged. He's one of the first people charged in the COVID thing. He had COVID, he had measles, he had chicken pox, he had all kind of stuff in there, and he had all the shit to make the vaccines. It's like, oh my God, what were they going to do next?
Well,
It's really kind of scary, Janet. I mean, we talk about stuff.
Scary.
I mean,
This
you heard
all
that
is
guy. He's
scary.
like, I didn't want to know this. It's like, if we got to know, we're running out of time. They're not at the door. They're all in the house. And
But
we got to deal with them.
with all this stuff that we're seeing about these illegals, they had social security numbers. Now, see, that's a federal crime right there. See,
Federal
people
crime.
don't realize when you steal someone's social security number, that is a federal offense. That will be prosecuted by the government, not by a state. Now, the other crimes underneath that, they would definitely do that. But this woman, she'll probably face federal crimes too, on top of the state crimes also, right? So I'm just saying, her boyfriend was also put in prison, and he probably turned evidence on her because she was higher up on the food chain. So that's why he probably only got 4 years, and she's gonna get at least 10 that they know of. So, but the thing is that the reason nobody's talking about it is because nobody knows, hardly anyone knows about any of this stuff because the news doesn't tell you. But I wanted to share, this is another one. This is another person in California, but California is a big state. So yeah, it's going to have a lot more fraud than a smaller state, I think. Well, maybe not Minnesota. Minnesota's pretty corrupt, the whole state. This is a pro-Democrat California council candidate, Desiree Lynch, and she's been arrested for election fraud also. So I wanted to play this for you. It's nice to see it. But the thing is, the only way you're going to see it is if you go looking for election fraud, people that are being arrested, because the news isn't going to just willy-nilly show it to you. I mean, I wish somebody would do a couple shows once a week and show you all the different fraud that people are going to prison for.
Council candidate Desiree Lynch is out on bond. She was arrested this morning in connection with a corruption investigation.
She's running to lead the city's 5th district and now faces multiple felony charges.
KTRA 3's Carson Wells is live for us in Stockton with what the DA is saying about these charges.
Yeah, Curtis, Lisa, Desiree Lynch was arrested around 10:15 this morning on 5 felony charges. I spoke with the San Joaquin County District Attorney earlier today, and he says this comes after a 6-week-long investigation. According to Lynch's campaign website, she is a full-time ICU nurse and a mom, and she announced last week that she would withdraw from the election, but this week she said she intended to stay in the race. She's charged with 3 counts of perjury, false voter registration, and false filing for candidacy. The San Joaquin County District Attorney's Office accuses Lynch of perjuring herself. The DA says Lynch registered to vote and filed to be a candidate using the addresses of places she didn't live.
So, see, it's just nice to finally start seeing people being arrested, because everybody keeps saying they're sharing memes, of a skeleton sitting on a bench saying, when, I hear blah, blah, blah. Everybody's doing all the, whistle blowing, but when's someone going to get arrested? Well, the people are being arrested. People have already been prosecuted for election fraud and for, other, fraud in these states having to do with money, the stolen social security numbers, all this different stuff, but we're not being told about it. So unless you go looking, basically, and it's not in your state, you're not even going to know about it. And that's the sad fact about it, that our own president has to post stuff on Truth Social to even get you to know about it. It's pathetic. It really is. It's really sad. But it's good to know that something is happening finally, because you get really sad. You get really blackpilled, on life and stuff about, what is wrong with people? Doesn't anyone see what's going on? And apparently, yeah, they do, and they're going to jail for it. So people are doing their job. You got district attorneys doing their jobs, putting people behind bars, taking them to court, along with all the people that murder, rob banks, and auto theft, rapes. All the other stuff they're doing too. But we also have fraud and other criminals taking people over state lines for trafficking. There's just tons and tons of stuff, and we just have to dig around and try to find it if you want to see that they are working on trying to stop some of the fraud and put people behind bars, because it is happening. We're just not being notified of it. But
the earliest place you see reports is in local reporting.
Yes.
Right. If it qualifies for national, it'll be national. And then they follow some things nationally, how many bombs did we drop? Did any ships get shot down in Hormuz and all of this? And what's so ridiculous about that level is that's where all the mis and disinformation is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, the ABC thing, this is a pet peeve to me, right?
Yeah.
Ted Turner had TNT and TBS, right? And I was working for James Brown at the time, and my mom called me and she said, "You're going to be so proud of your father. I just wanted to tell you what he's doing today." And she's telling me that he's over getting the hostages from Iran on the day that Reagan was inaugurated, right? Well, I was sitting at work at James Brown Enterprises. We were working on an album. And I looked up at JB and I was crying. He goes, "What's the matter? Did something happen?" And I told him. He calls Ted Turner on the phone and he tells Ted Turner that a Georgia boy is doing this. So Ted Turner took TNT and turned it for that day. All they had was live cameras at the airport waiting for the plane. My dad was coming in on with the hostages.
Yeah.
Well, it got delayed. And it was on like 17 or 18 hours, and it was the most money he had ever made in television. And that's why he started the news station, CNN. That was the cause of CNN. So I sort of got to meet him and all that kind of stuff. And ABC, right, the same way he bought AOL, he bought ABC, and all of this was sort of going on at the same time. And that's when he had control of Disney, right? So when he sold he got all that together to one big company, and then he sold that for $2 billion. He gave $1 billion to the UN and then bought that huge ranch out there in Utah where he made an African safari at. We just lost him. Ted Turner was all right? But I don't think he should have been in global politics. That's all. He just didn't have the wherewithal for that.
Yeah.
But in the end, he's the one who set all of that up, right? Well, the one thing that nobody really knows about George Soros that's probably one of the worst things we have going for us is that he has controlling ownership of a lot of media. And just in the last year, it might even have been this year, that wasn't long ago, he bought 500 AM stations, right? We had a Republican Senate that he could not buy those. And we had a Republican Senate that could have overruled, and he got them anyway. Now, this is the same guy who bought all of the radio stations in Uganda when Chad and Uganda had a civil war and they were using machetes to cut each other up. And I can pull up, because it's all declassified now, some recordings from this one woman's radio station where she was calling for the genocide of these people on the radio every day for months on end, literally gaslighting these people into this insane, shit. I don't know what else to call it, right? Yeah. And then they took dump trucks, 12-wheel dump trucks, carry dirt to your house or whatever, full of machetes. And she was announcing on the radio where to go get machetes. Now, the man who owned that radio station was George Soros. Right? Now, this is stuff we know. We know that he did that, right? And somehow he got Joy Reid on his payroll, and she was trying to incite civil war. It was almost like, bow down, white people, we're coming. It's like, man, how can they let this woman on television, right? That's the one part of this whole thing involving Soros, who owns Dominion, who owns the software that changes the votes, who has every single one of these judges on his payroll and all of that stuff. That's the one thing that bothers me, is he's a genocidal maniac, and he would love it nothing more than to see a city like Minneapolis, or even where they just drove in on all those motorcycles. That's what he wants. That's what he wants.
Yeah, one thing I want to add, because you brought up George Soros again, is I talked about this. This was a couple years ago when I first started doing more and more stuff about the fraud, trying to say one day we're gonna start finding out that, you know, other people from other countries, but higher ups are involved in stealing from all of us. And I just had, different, insight on different things. And I found out, I started digging around. I don't have it with me. I'd have to go find out what show it was on there, because it's on there already. Was that George Soros was buying ammunition companies. Did you know that? And people were saying, because they're always saying, well, no one's going to take my guns from me. But what if you have 50 guns, but you can't get any ammo for them?
Oh, you better have ammo.
Yeah.
You should have got that back when they called COVID out.
I know, but
they ran out of ammo during that time. Did you know that?
Because Soros owns 2 ammo companies, he can make sure that you're not able to get any. So you need to find other sources to get ammo. And that's why I brought up the fact that there was that one character on The Walking Dead, and that was one of his expertise, was making bullets, right? That was the reason why he was worth so much, and people would do whatever they had to keep him alive, because they needed someone that knew how to make bullets. Because remember, they're starting from scratch again to rebuild society because of the zombies and stuff, right? So that whole concept was really smart if you think about it, because what are your skills? If something was to happen, we didn't have power, we didn't have government was messed up, or whatever happens, what skills do you have that you're going to use to barter to get the things you need for yourself and your families? So you better start thinking about that. People need to start realizing, can you sew?
I learned when I was under 10, right?
So,
I got a gun for my birthday, Christmas, when I was 8, right? Went duck hunting, all that.
So did I. I didn't have that kind of gun. I got a pellet gun.
But we recharged ours, because my dad wanted to teach us how to shoot. We'd go to the range, we'd have 40 bullets on the ground, and before we could go to bed that night, me and my brother had to put gunpowder, shot, a plug and a round in it. We did 223s and 30-30s and 30-06.
Yeah.
So that's a skill that's important. And if you can only shoot so many bullets at a time, And if you have a few hundred around and you needed to use them like that, all you need is the dry powder, the new slugs and all that kind of stuff. And that's the better way to do it.
I was telling people that, there's a lot of things that you need to start looking into about being able to take care of yourself. Now, years ago, I remember my grandmother telling me that they taught a lot of things at school,
they did back in the day. They had
shop and stuff where they teach you how to start gasoline powered engines and just all kinds of stuff, how to make an electrical cord, how to weld.
We need to bring all that back, Janet.
All those things. It's important, because when you have a child and they're your responsibility for how long? I mean, how long do you expect your kids to live with you? And when they move out, can they cook? Can they change a tire? My dad made sure every one of us girls, we all had to show my dad that we could change a tire on the car before we were even allowed to drive it. Because we were in the boonies, and let's say you're out somewhere and you get a flat. Okay, what are you going to do? Just stand by your car with your shorts on, waiting for someone to come by and change your tire for you? Well, guess what? You may never get home. So, my dad said, you got to be self-reliant. You got to be able to take care of yourself. And, more people need to learn how to do that. But
everybody's dad's not a Sears instructor. Okay.
Well, I know my dad was a badass with 5 daughters. So he was being punished by God for some reason, for something he did. I don't know what, but 5 girls is a lot to deal with for one man. You know what I mean? I think so. But I don't know. But I loved it. I felt very, special because I was the tomboy. I was the one that did stuff with my dad. But I want to share this. This is another alert that I want to share with Tulsi Gabbard, okay, about the biolab cover-up, with Russia. And so I want to share this real quick, and I'll share the stuff in the link in the chat. But here we go.
National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard has just released new evidence of a U.S. taxpayer-funded biolab network that she says includes more than 120 labs stretching across 30 countries. Our chief congressional correspondent, Chad Pergram, reports he's live on Capitol Hill for us. Hey, Chad.
John, good afternoon. The debate about biolabs dates back to the pandemic. Gabbard says the government funded these labs despite testimony to the contrary. Many contained dangerous pathogens, plus the labs conducted gain-of-function research.
As the information surrounding the existence, history, locations, and funding of these U.S.-funded biolabs has been intentionally covered up by very powerful people who falsely claimed that these biolabs didn't exist.
Gain-of-function is an effort to enhance the genetic codes of organisms. This helps doctors understand the organism to develop vaccines. Questions remain whether COVID-19 originated in a lab, which conducted gain-of-function research. Gabbard says there's worry about the security of these labs. Some are in Ukraine. That's risky because of the war with Russia.
Politicians and so-called health professionals like Dr. Fauci, as well as entities within the Biden administration's national security team, lied repeatedly to the American people about the existence of U.S.-funded and supported biolabs. Not only did they lie, they threatened those who attempted to expose the truth.
Dr. Anthony Fauci long studied gain-of-function when he worked at NIH.
It was asked of the trained staff at the Institute if this research would fall under the pause for gain of function. And it was determined by trained staff that it did not, because at that time, there were 2 components of guardrails. There's the guardrail of prior to 2017.
Gabbard instructed the intelligence community to find out what research is going on at these labs. This is one of Gabbard's last acts as DNI. She steps down later this month. John?
Boy, and the Biden White House was so adamant that
it was interesting. The reason I wanted to play this again, because I have played this multiple times, and I have played Tulsi Gabbard's whole speech that she gave about multiple different things that she was submitting to the what was it? The Department of Justice. Yeah. The thing is that we have all of that interviews from Fauci from back then, all on video camera. So all the questions and stuff that he was asked this time when he pled the 5th, all they're going to have to do is go back and get the information that he's already given. Because he's already multiple times talked about that. And tomorrow night, we're going to go deep into his second diary that they found and they're going through. So there's a lot of more stuff that's coming out about Fauci. But the thing is that more and more people are looking into the stuff that Tulsi Gabbard did turn over. And the biolabs prove that gain of function research was happening, and that all goes back and connects with the stuff that Senator Johnson and stuff have been working on. So it's all gonna, it sounds terrible, but it's all gonna interconnect, because all the same people, once they get all the evidence, is gonna go up to the same people. You see what I mean? I really can't wait for that day. The one person that I really want to see with handcuffs on, I haven't heard a peep from her in a long time. So I don't know if she's involved in any of this stuff, but she's involved in a lot of other shit, especially the whole stuff with the fake PP dossier and all that. And the whole thing with Seth Rich. I think that she was involved in something to do with that stuff too, because he's the one that found out that she was cheating. She already had all the answers to the debate and all that different stuff, because he thought that Bernie Sanders got, ripped off, and they stabbed Bernie Sanders in the back, and he had evidence of it. He's the one that leaked the stuff to WikiLeaks about, the Clinton campaign and all that. And he was a Democrat, but he believed in what he was doing, and he wanted to do the right thing, and he wanted to be fair, and he was murdered. So that whole situation is just a mess. But I just praise Tulsi Gabbard. And it wasn't that, I think it was a couple of days ago where she did another video that she released about her husband, surgery and all that different stuff. So I'm really happy that everything seems to be going well for her and her husband. And I'm thankful that we had the chance to have her in this administration for a short time. And I just pray that her husband pulls through and, everything works out really good for them, because they deserve it. They deserve to be happy. And she's a wonderful person. She served her country. She served as in the military and as a president's administration, all that stuff. So, we're just so lucky to have had her for the short time that we did. Okay, now I got one more thing that I want to bring up, but there's two parts to it. There's two different stories around it. So I'm going to play the first one. I think this is the one. And then we'll do the second one. But I think everyone's going to recognize who this is. The Fang guy or something. I heard little bits here and there for a while, but it just seems to be getting bigger and bigger because as more and more stuff's coming out. But do you know that much about this gentleman, Eric Swalwell?
More than I wish I did, but I'll talk about it after the video if you want.
Yeah, okay. Because it says that Kash Patel did declassify the documents, and those documents confirm not only that Eric Swalwell was effing Rusty Thumbs. I don't know who that is. I guess that's the name of the person, the nickname they gave that person, a Chinese communist spy, but also that he was bribed by Rusty Thumbs with no underwear. So I don't know what that means. And who was selling internship positions to Swalwell's office for $5,000 a pop. Man, I mean, these people just think they just can do whatever they want. They must. It's so funny. It just seems like more and more and more of these people are ending up being their actual narcissists to be able to do all this shit. It's just shocking to me. I can't believe I'm shocked, but I am. But here we go. Let me make sure this is turned up.
To try and smear a political opponent. I mean, it's just absurd. It's absolutely absurd. But is my lawyer, one of our lawyers told me today, and this really kind of stops you right in your tracks. He said, if they do this, it'll be the greatest abuse of power by an FBI director since J. Edgar Hoover. And so those are the stakes, that we would allow the FBI to just go after the president's political enemies, meant to try and smear.
I think that's funny after what happened with Trump in the last administration, that anyone from the left or any of these people that are rhinos or whatever have the balls to say that they're going after, the FBI is going after their political, adversaries and stuff. I just think that's disgusting. So do you have anything you want to say about that before I play the second part?
Go ahead.
Okay, so let me close this. I just wanted to hear what he had to say in his own words first before I play the second part. Because the second one's not really a video, but it's still important. But here we go. Let me get it. Oops. Clicked on the wrong thing. I opened the wrong thing. Sorry about that. That was my Rumble stuff. It's really hard to click on the right stuff here. Here we go. All right. It's from the Gateway Pundit, and it's talking about FBI agents confront former Dem Congressman Eric Swalwell at the airport and seize his electronics, including his cell phone. So they're finally going after him, I guess. He's under investigation and received a nasty surprise a few days ago at the airport because they're saying that he was sleeping with a communist spy. And she must have been really good looking. I mean, all these guys sleeping with all these Chinese women, they must really like getting their back walked on or something with bare feet. I mean, I don't know what else these girls have. But it says that they told the Daily Mail that Swalwell was cooperative, that he didn't, fight or whatever. I guess he gave them the stuff that they asked for. But this was for the Department of Justice launched an investigation into the disgraced former congressman, I guess, in April. But now he's also under investigation by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office after a former staffer came forward to CNN and said that the California Democrat had raped her in 2024. So he's getting a pile of different things stacked on top of one after the other. So, what do you know about this whole situation with this guy? Because I really haven't paid that much attention to it. Just the fact that he supposedly was sleeping with a Chinese spy. But if you're a Chinese spy, how do you get to stay here if people know you're a spy? So I don't get that.
Well, you have sex with a congressman. That's one way to do it.
And you get to stay here for that?
I mean, who's going to bother a congressman?
I know, but it's illegal. If it's a
Of course
Chinese
it's illegal.
spy, it's a Chinese spy. Why would they want her here?
Janet, help me out.
Yeah.
Stop acting surprised that these people committed crimes.
No, I know.
What we're doing is we're just talking about it. Let me tell you my thing on him.
Okay.
Okay. The guy who was the Air Force One, NBC has the contract for all video that comes out of the White House. That's why whenever you see Fox or whatever, right? Well, the Air Force One NBC cameraman went to high school with me. The job he had before he got that one was having his camera downstairs. All right. I mean, Congress is a trip, right? There's basements, tunnels, all kind of shit, right? When you have the right access, it's amazing how it is. It's a spider web, whatever. Anyway, he's posted down there and he's got his mic on and his camera on.
Mm-hmm.
And we watched everybody that came in and out of there, and they were coming outside, right, and having their little chit chats thinking they were in private, right? They didn't know the camera was on. And he was talking about all that stuff then. Now, this is like 2017. And that sort of ties into, think about this for a minute. All you got to do really to screw somebody is go fill out a affidavit at the jail and accuse somebody of something, right? They did that for years with Supreme Court justices they were trying to get in and stuff, right? So they were really good at this. And then all of a sudden, Hillary loses that damn debate in August of 2016. That was the first time you heard him say, we have an insurance policy. That insurance policy was to accuse Trump of something so that he did not have more power than Barack Obama, who was the outgoing president, because that law, and there's a real law for that, right? So we don't get taken over by, basically Obama was saying, no, I got it. You're not taking it over. It's like, wait a minute, we have elections. What are you talking about? We have an insurance policy. And that's when they planned all of that. Now, let me throw this in for you, right?
Yeah.
2016 was the year, right, that they were supposed to run the COVID nightmare. And that information is in Agenda 2030, which is the UN's agenda for how it's going to run the world. And so you're right. This is all so extremely complicated, right? And there's so many things going on, but they literally told us, well, there was nothing they could do. He won the election, right? But they had that backup plan before the election. The two FBI agents were in a sexual relationship. That's an immediate you get fired. But they had people all around them that knew they were doing it and they didn't say a word, right? The corruption is out of this world and it is against the law. But we're past the point of being surprised that they did it. They gaslit everybody and they use that media we talked about to brainwash a lot of people. Every time you went in the airport, you got one channel you're allowed to watch, CNN. They're not they're biased, right? They're not news reporters. It's more like a drama show. You know, I don't know the shit they put on and all that.
I remember there was a channel when I was a kid because my dad watched it all the time. It drove me crazy because it just seems like old people they just watch the same news channel all day long or something. But it was called Headline News or something like that. And he said he liked it because it was a constant update of new stuff that was going on around the world, basically. So do we still have that? Is there still, I don't think I see it anymore. I don't think it's on the news anymore.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I wanted to say one other thing about Swalwell.
Oh, go ahead.
If he's just being indicted over, or investigated over election fraud, I had always had a thought in the back of my mind that Fang was bringing him minors.
Probably.
Right? He was probably forced by China to say all that crazy. We have evidence. I met with Adam Schiff. I'm like, yeah, you were down there. We got it on film, and you're not authorized to be in the room. What are you doing in there, right? Yeah. They were breaking every rule and everything. It's like, man, dude, we filmed you. We got it all because y'all are so stupid. You announce what you're doing, and So I thought for the longest time they had him in child sex. But after this, I'm sure they got him because that's how they do it, right? Yep. It's not just Jeffrey Epstein. And no, he doesn't do that for Mossad. Mossad has their own guy, right? Just like China has their own Fang, right? Get them, hook them, get them hooked up with some chick that's 14 and looks 25 and you're done.
Yeah, but the only thing I don't understand, this is what I really don't get, is if you work for a company like, I don't know, a perfume company or whatever, and you're working on a new perfume that you think is going to be the biggest whatever, and then you find out that there's a person working in the lab that works for another company in another country, but they got a job there just to try to steal the formula for a couple of the perfumes, and you find out that they're in there and they're stealing. Basically, they're a spy for this other country, right? Well, immediately, as soon as they find out, they're removing that person from there. They're going to press charges or whatever and probably put him in jail, but they're going to have him, they're going to hold them accountable for what they did and find out what they have or whatever, and then probably sue the company in the other country for sending that person over here to spy. Well, if you find out, and people were talking about her being a Chinese spy for many years that I remember, and she was, how long did she stay here? Is she still here? Is she still in America?
No,
so
she's not. No.
Back in China?
No. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's what I was trying to figure out. And then they got this other woman tonight. I showed you the thing that she got caught, and she was a communist spy, basically, sending information from our country to China. And, and she's still walking around and driving a car. I don't see why that right there isn't number one priority of our government, to arrest anyone that they know is a spy that they've caught sending information.
Yeah, I want to really clarify this thing about the UN because I mentioned it last week and it sounds so crazy, right? Mm-hmm. The very first UN program was called Codex Alimentarius. And alimentaries is our digestive system. That's the Greek word for digestive system.
Yeah.
So what they planned to do then, which is what they did, it's what Maha is all about. They put they poisoned us with food. There's poison in food on all these shelves. It's in boxes and processed because they can dump powder in there, and it's just like a slow thing. Well, like JFK Jr. has been raising hell about it. Same amount of time I have since I was probably 20 years old. But we were conspiracy theorists, remember?
Yeah.
So they came up with Agenda 21, and Agenda 21 had in there scheduled times and dates for pandemics. It's literally in there. They talk about ending beef, doing the new Green New Deal and all that. Well, at some point, you know, when Obama sort of lost it, because Trump's like, no, I'm the president, right? You know, we all know you're full of shit and I'm the president. Man, that stupid thing, the whole thing about all the Russia, everything, and even the Ukraine stuff, all got planned by Barack Obama with James Comey and John Brennan, the head of the FBI and the head of the CIA. And we have they write everything down in the White House. They did. Before Obama hid all his information, we had access to that meeting. People in there, what happened? Because why? What if one of them shot the president? You would have to have all of that for any case you brought against somebody. It's the president of the United States. He doesn't fart that they don't write it down, right? As beans got through, whatever they may, you know, they're in the house, outside the White House when the husband and wife are having sex. People don't realize what it's like in the White House. If you get that assignment, it's like, man, I knew some of them when Hillary was in there, Dan Bongino, and man, we would talk about it because the stuff Hillary did to Bill Clinton, man, he's like, man, it's driving me crazy. He would tell me how fucked up it was. I'm like, yeah, dog. And everybody that was in there said Hillary was like a psychiatric patient, right? Throwing shit, breaking shit. She left. She stole 500-year-old paintings off the wall and took China. It's like, come on in, Hillary. It's all yours. She gave our uranium to Russia.
Yeah,
right?
When she left the governor's mansion in Arkansas, she supposedly took a whole bunches of stuff from the governor's mansion also.
All right. Well, let me finish the UN thing. Around 2018 or 2019, they redid Agenda 21, and now it's Agenda 2030.
Mm-hmm.
And they have these plans in there. So all of that stuff is really important. I would say to anybody listening, if you really want to get a picture over the last 70 years how we got here, this did not happen overnight. And we're talking about all these things now, but it's very important to understand. And the most important thing to understand this about the UN is that the UN is doing all of this. China and Russia are not in the UN. So when they're over here and they've got their communist spies and they're sending the people in and out, China is sending people in and out, and throw on top of that, you're going to open your border to one of the poorest set of nations in the world, where they got brutal socialism and murder and crazy stuff going on. So that's just what the UN's doing. And you have to, compartmentalize all that stuff if you really want to understand it, because in the end, there is going to be a web, and that web will lead to two things: control, power control, and money. And as long as everybody wins, there won't be a world war, right? It'll be a lot of skirmish stuff and all this. But in my estimation, the Middle East needs to unify and get over their 5,000-year-old, grudge over one brother getting something the other one should have got. It's like, we usually talk about that at dinner and move on, You water under the bridge. You fight and destroy the world for 5,000 years based on something like that. And it's just kind of ridiculous. But once they, unify and get a little thing like this, then that's when you'll see more of a balanced trade less violence in skirmishes and all that. But the radicals are the biggest problem. And George Soros is the one who controls the radicals. He controls the Chinese radicals. He controls the Russian radicals. He controls the radicals all over Europe, the Africa. He's got his hands way, way deep in this. And until somebody is willing to look at his role in all of this and his ties with Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, all of the media that he's got his hands in America, the fact that he paid everybody that came across our border, gave them a cell phone. And I mean, oh my God, you can't be serious. This man funded an invasion against our country and he can still go to McDonald's. There's something really wrong with that fucking picture.
He's really old now, isn't he?
He's 87, I think, 88, something.
Yeah, he looks, he doesn't look very good from what I could tell.
He can still run his network.
I know, but
that's the problem. As long as he can talk, he's very dangerous.
Soon he won't be around to prosecute.
Yeah, as long as he can talk, he's the most dangerous man in the world.
I can't remember his name right now. The one that went to jail from Hollywood that was using his pull to get women or whatever and force them.
Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, Weinstein. Now, I was worried there for a while that people were going to say, well, we can't prosecute him. He's in a wheelchair. He's not well, that kind of shit. I'm like, it doesn't matter. If he's just a head on a platter and he's still alive, we need to prosecute him. You know what I mean? So I feel the same way about this whole thing with Soros, because Hillary Clinton just goose goo-goos and gagas over this guy. And she also did the same thing with the, what was his name? The leader of the Ku Klux Klan that ran that was a senator or something.
Byrd.
Yeah.
Senator Byrd, yeah.
Senator Byrd. She just was like, this is my mentor. And she just went on and on about him. Because I remember all the junk my mom would talk about when Bill and Hillary were first running and they lost because they didn't have any kids or anything. And they told me you need to have a kid and, some other stuff to fix it. And eventually, I guess people, they got beaten down and people were like, oh, he's great. Even though he was running drugs out of Mena, Arkansas. And, he had all these call girls being picked up by the police. And,
state patrolmen bringing them over there.
They're disgusting. Both of them are disgusting. And then the whole Whitewater mess where she swore under oath that she didn't see any of those papers. And then as soon as she's in the White House, guess what? They found her fingerprints on the Whitewater documents that she swore that she never touched. So they're just disgusting. I mean, and then the whole thing that came out about all the people that supposedly were, died of suicide, being shot in the back of the head twice, that kind of stuff. And that kid, that Nick Shirley kid, he says he's going to do a documentary on going through the Clintons list of supposed people that, been taken down or whatever. So I can't wait to see that. It'll be very interesting. But I'm finished. I've brought up everything that we had, and we've been going at it for over 2 hours. So that's pretty good. Because when I first started the show, I wanted it to be an hour show, but it's never been, an hour. So it's been more. But thank you very much for joining me tonight. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
And, hope you had a good time or whatever.
Always. I love it. I get, there's a lot of stress and stuff that goes with the kind of work I do and talking about it and knowing other people can see it from right. We don't need to be surprised anymore. It's criminal. They gaslit us so bad and they talked bad about us and, it's kind of crazy. It's just crazy what's happened to us.
It's nice to know that you're not crazy, that other people.
Oh, no, I'm not crazy.
Like you. No, that there's other people that think about it just like you do. We didn't have your job, but we understand that, well, man, they've been duping us for a very long time. And there's so much evidence out there and we want to see these people prosecuted.
Yeah. You have to detach from it a certain amount though. Yeah, especially when you get to the child trafficking and human organ trafficking. And I mean, we're not even getting to what's really happened. I think I was going to say just the last comment. We don't have a king because we chose to elect a president. But when that man we choose every 4 years goes to that White House, we need Sir Lancelot. We don't need Henry VIII, right? And they're just, that White House lost what it had. And every time, if you look, when there was crisis in America, it's because the president was gay and his secretary was actually his boyfriend, or, you know, somebody got crippled in office, or we were in a war or whatever. That power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Lord Tennyson said that. And
100%.
yeah. So I would just say, and we should always say it, just pray, try to detach from the pain of what we've been through, because we have to be practical and have peace in our hearts, because however we go going forward, we'll never get rid of all the migrants. You know, our hope is that the ones who are here to stay out of just fate, whether it's Chinese, Russian, or whatever, that they will embrace the liberty and the happiness and joy that we had in this country 50 years ago when they started this aggressive action against our nation, because we are the best nation in this world. I've flown out of this country across oceans. Every single time I've come back, I have not been able to resist getting on my knees and kissing the ground. Not once. Every time, yeah.
I'm proud too. I'm very proud to be who I am, and you know, and I love my country. You know, I have a flag pole in my front yard. You know, I have a flag out there with a light on it and everything. And whenever it starts looking bad, I take it down and fold it up, and then I burn it. But I don't make a big deal out of it. I just do exactly what my dad told me to do, and that's what I do. And then I put a brand new flag up, you know, because I'm proud to have a flag, because I'm proud to be an American, and I'm not embarrassed to have that, you know, to say the pledge. And it's sad when your kid can go to school and be told they can't wear that flag shirt because it's causing somebody stress. You know, it's just pathetic that would ever happen in this country. But thank you so much for hanging out with me and making it fun to do. And everyone that hung out with us tonight on Kick, on Rumble, and on YouTube, I really appreciate it. And anyone that does watch the show later, just feel free to take the links out of the chat and share them, bookmark them or whatever. And also, please leave a comment and let us know if there's something you want us to talk about on the show. And I did share, I'm going to share it one more time real quick, the Friday Night Shit Show at gmail.com, my email address for, you know, anything that has to do with the shows that we do. And I'm going to share it right now in the chat, and that's it right there. So send me an email and, you know, let us know if there's something you think is important that we should be talking about. And if I'm allowed, I'll do it on YouTube. If I'm not allowed to do it on YouTube, I'll just do it on my Rumble or one of my other channels. But thank you very much. And you guys have a wonderful weekend. It's starting tomorrow. It's Friday. Yay. But thank you so much. And God bless America.
God bless America.
Boys and girls all over the world are being abused and tortured.
The worst moments of these children's lives, they're being videotaped and they're being shared with other offenders all over the world.
Many people would refer to this as CSAM, child sexual abuse material.
They are suffering and they don't think that anyone is coming to help them. But we can. We can build that army and we can go get them.
Come be a part of this team that is trying to push back this evil.